Good afternoon, everybody. Thanks for joining me for MatrixCare Mobile Session 1 training. Today, we're going to do a demo of the Caregiver Mobile solution, and then we're going to go into the main database and talk about the different items that need to be configured. So MatrixCare Home Care Mobile is a web app-based version of MatrixCare Home Care for caregivers to use at the point of care in order to capture tasks performed during visits and collect client signatures. GPS location and check-in, check-out functionality is included. Caregivers can also view announcement activities and outstanding trainings and expirations. So I'm going to go to my desktop over here, and let's close a few of these objects. What I'm going to do is use some of Google's really neat tools that they have, and I'm going to make my desktop look like the phone. And let's do this. Oh, come on. There we go. So I'm going to go ahead and sign in as a home health aide. Now, this is the MatrixCare Mobile login page. Your agency is assigned a URL for MatrixCare Mobile, and the caregiver sees this. They'll have this URL installed on their phone, and they'll be able to log in as long as they see your agency's assigned tenant code, which is basically your database name, in the tenant box. So I'm going to go ahead and log in as Karen Smith. Now, once logged in, this is the home page that the caregiver sees. So their schedules for the current day are presented to them immediately. Isn't that funny? We have two schedules at the same time. Caregivers also have the tab for weekly schedules, so they can see what their schedules are for the week, and they can access future schedules, as well as past schedules. Now, as of version 1.61, we have just released our offline version of MatrixCare Mobile for the Android devices. So we're going to talk about the configuration options for how much schedule visibility the caregivers have, but when you start using the offline mobile version, caregivers will only have access to 1 week's worth of past schedules and 2 weeks worth of future schedules. So that's what I'm going to teach in class, because regardless of the settings that you configure, you're only going to be able to see that when the caregivers move over to the new offline version. Now, caregivers can open up their schedules in the future and take a look at them and see what types of tasks that they have that are going to be due. They can also review the appointment details if they need to, if they're on the ball and want to see all that information. Now, up at the top left corner of the screen, the MatrixCare icon is a home button, so that will take them out to that main page when they click that. Up towards the top right, the question mark icon is what we call the hopscotch tour. So when the caregiver clicks that, they'll get some more information about the different icons that are on the screen that they're on. And that works from whatever screen that they happen to be in. So if they're in the schedule and they need more information about the different parts of the schedule details, they can click on that hopscotch tour. Typically, caregivers use the hopscotch tour a few times, and then they're acclimated to using MatrixCare Mobile, so they don't use it anymore. But next to the hopscotch tour is the notifications, and you can see that we have 6 notifications for this caregiver. So when I click that, you'll see the message coming from the office, best wishes from Lasting Happiness Home Care for Happy and Healthy 2019. And then we have some other items that we've pulled into notifications, including the items that are expiring on the caregiver file. So MatrixCare is going to look to the caregiver's file on the expirations tab to see if there are any items that have an expiration coming up in the next 30 days, like this driver's license item expiring on August 1st. But we also look for items that have expired in the last year, looking back 1 year from today's date. So that's why you could still see auto insurance and auto registration. Those expired on the 19th. And also, we look for items that have a blank expiration date. So safety and risks is pulled in here. Also, Caregivers will see any trainings that they're scheduled for that don't yet have a completed date filled in. So cooking a low-sodium diet is visible in their notifications here. And then user account settings is the top right icon. So the caregiver can see the user account they're logged in with, the office that they belong to, the office's address, and the office's phone number. Now, those blue items are hot links. So when the caregiver clicks on the office address, they're redirected to whatever mapping solution is in use on the device. And they can get directions to or from the office using that mapping solution. Because they're on a mobile device, if they were to click the phone number, the call dialog box would come up, and they would just simply click call to dial your office. Caregivers will set up and manage their own password for MatrixCare Mobile, and they'll set up and manage their own digital signature PIN. The digital signature PIN is going to be used to sign for their visit, attesting to the times that they worked and the tasks that they completed during the visit. And caregivers should sign out of MatrixCare Mobile here in the user account settings. But we're going to go ahead and open up this visit for Bo Duke, and you'll see appointment details. We have two tabs, the appointment tab, which shows the client's name, address, and phone number. And again, those blue hot links, you can click them if you need to. But the caregiver will see the start and end time of the visit, the service status and service code that's scheduled, the office name and office phone number, and at the bottom of the schedule, if you have any notes stored in the client's advanced tab, display on caregiver portal box, those notes would be visible at the bottom of the client's schedule for the caregiver to read. And on the tasks tab, we have the tasks, but I want you to notice there are no check boxes for these tasks yet. That's because caregivers have to be checked in order to report tasks. So let's go ahead and get checked in. So here on the appointment tab, I'm going to click the check-in button. The caregiver will see what's called toasts come up at the top right corner of the screen. And the system is still checking me in. Notice what happened. Check-in recorded, location not accurate enough. And the reason that I'm seeing a location not accurate enough message is because I'm working on my PC. Caregivers will be using a smartphone device that has a true GPS chip in it. When I'm on the PC, MatrixCare is using my browser on my PC to try and coordinate where I am. The browser is not true GPS, so it's doing the best it can, so that's why I'm getting this accuracy reading. But it does say that my check-in is recorded, so I'm going to go ahead and proceed. So here we are on the task tab. Now I have boxes available to me. So I can go ahead and do my work, check off the items as I complete them. Something else to point out, with my configuration options, I have set up service plan task frequencies for the caregivers to follow. So any item that's set up with a task frequency has a little red asterisk next to it, and you'll notice it says must provide documentation at the top of the task list. So my caregivers have to either check the item off or provide a reason why they did not complete the item. If they don't, they won't be able to complete the checkout process for MatrixCare Mobile. Now, service plan task frequencies are an option. You don't have to configure them for use if you don't want to. And I'll discuss that when we get to the service plan setup portion of this training. But I'm going to go ahead and mark off the different items that are completed, change bed linens, and maybe it's not time to do laundry, so the client refused. I would click the edit button and click on the not completed reason drop-down, and I'll choose client declined. Notice the other option that you have is other, but if you put in other, the caregiver would be required to put in some not completed notes. So in this case, I'm just going to put in client declined and click OK. When I click OK, you'll notice that the little asterisk next to the item is cleared next to laundry. So we did clean bathroom and kitchen. Dusting and vacuuming is not due until Friday, so I'm going to leave those unchecked, and shopping's not due until Wednesday, so same goes for that. I'm going to leave it unchecked. And those items don't have frequencies set up. You don't see any asterisks. Shower with tub assistance is to be done 3 times a week. So we'll check that off. And the caregiver did the dressing and hair care. Skin care was done as well. You know what? I'm going to leave that unchecked just so I can show you what happens during the checkout process. But toileting was completed and transfers and shaving. So I'll save those items. So when it comes time for the caregiver to check out, they simply navigate back to the appointment tab. And on the appointment tab, they'll click checkout to begin the checkout process. So the first page that comes up is a visit summary page showing the caregiver the items that they completed in green and items that they did not complete with the red X. And below that, any expenses that were being reported, although expenses are not going to be available in the offline version of MatrixCare Mobile, so I don't have them configured for my caregiver. I don't have an expenses tab. Now, if the caregiver had completed all their tasks, the next button down at the bottom right corner would be available to them. But the caregiver did not complete those task frequency items, so notice, click here to complete documentation for not completed frequency tasks. So when I click here, this is going to take me back to the Tasks tab, and I can go back and address that item that was missed. So the skincare item is the one that we either have to check off or mark as not completed. I'll go ahead and click it and check it off. I'll save that, and then we'll try the checkout again. So our task summary comes up. That looks much better. The system is satisfied, so the caregiver has a next button available to them at the bottom right. Their GPS location is retrieved, and the caregiver is asked to certify that their visit time is correct. Now, if the caregiver answers yes and says, I certify that my times are accurate, the next button is immediately available to them. But if the caregiver answers no, they're required to put in a note in the notes field addressing why that they're saying no. So I'm just going to pretend arrived at home and started working immediately. Start time is 3 p.m. So the caregiver has the opportunity to put in override check-in or override checkout times. So I'm going to go ahead and put in that override check-in time of 3 p.m. And I'll go ahead and click Next. When I do, the check-in and checkout time is presented, and the caregiver then enters their digital signature PIN, attesting to those times and the tasks that they completed. Then they'll click Next, and the visit summary page comes up once more. So they actually present the phone to the client. So the client will see the check-in and checkout time, the tasks being reported as completed and not completed, and then they collect the client's signature. Now, because the caregiver is on a smaller device, they're going to have to rotate the phone 90 degrees, flipping it on its side. When they do, they then click in the Capture Signature box, and this is going to open up the entire window on the phone for the caregiver, for the client to sign in. So if the caregiver has a stylus, the client can use that, or they can just sign with their finger. Caregiver rotates the phone back and then clicks Accept. They'll see the visit review, and it shows again, location not accurate enough, and the caregiver clicks Complete. The toast comes up at the top right corner, and they'll see the message you've successfully checked out. And caregivers should always sign out of the mobile solution by going to the user account settings and sign out. Now, if they forget to sign out, the system will time out on them after 5 minutes of inactivity, and that's on purpose.